Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to this beautiful first week of March. Yep. Well, first weekend of March, March 7th. In any case, today, reading of Chapter 4 in my book, The Jester Prince. Available at DorranceBookstore.com and on Amazon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. This is a good one.
Chapter 4 is picking up right where Chapter 3 left off. Yes, it is. Chapter 3, our hero, the Jester, had just been swapped place with his lovely lady, and was kidnapped and taken back by the sorceress to her domain, which is actually our hero's homeland and home nation, but he doesn't quite know it yet. He only suspects things. So here we go. Reading of Chapter 4. In the hands of the enemy. Back in the southern kingdom, in the gray darkness of the courtroom of the castle, the sorceress and her minions appeared in a green-white flash with their prize in sack. They nodded to each other in approving ways. They had made it just as the sorceress had predicted. The sorceress walked up and took her seat on the throne. She waved her hand toward to the side walls where lamps suddenly lit. Very pleased with herself, she sat. Her minions dragged the squirming sack up in front of the throne. Some of them thought that to themselves it seemed a little heavier than it should, but they kept the thought quiet. They propped the sack upright in the presence of their mistress. The sorceress addressed them. "My servants, we have done it. We have breached that fortress of good. We have taken a precious item. You, princess, are my prisoner, to do with as I please until your father, the king, gives me his kingdom." Came from the sack. She looked at her gods and said, "Release the prisoner from the sack." The lead guard pulled the release cord from around the top. The person inside pulled open the opening to reveal himself. As he pulled past the edge of the sack, the wig he was wearing came off and fell to the floor with the sack. All were watching and stood in shock of what had happened and the implications of what it meant. The sorceress was infuriated and yelled, "This is not the princess, you idiots! This is their jester!" Joseph spoke. "Of course I'm not the princess. What do you think? That something of this magnitude would not be noticed? For all your power, you aren't very bright, are you?" The sorceress walked up to him and slapped him in the face. Then she grabbed his lower face and looked him in the eyes. "Do you think this is funny? What can you possibly gain by taking the place of the princess? I give you this much. It is a brave jester." She tapped her fingers on his cheek. "I like bravery. It's a challenge to break the brave. Most brave die or give in to my power or become my slaves." And she released her grip. Jester Joseph responded, "Lady, you obviously have no sense of self-sacrifice or sense of trust or trust in God. In a way, I think this is funny. You obviously put a whole lot of time and effort into this stunt, but you got someone you weren't expecting. Your pride and vanity have blinded your so-called power. I laugh because I have proven a weakness. You can't see true light. The sorceress stepped back and up next to the throne. She was obviously very angry. She turned and spoke. I will make you pay for this. I could kill you now and be done with you. She raised her hands as she had done before when she had killed others. The green energy began to build as her guards stepped away from the projected target. And then Chief Guard spoke up. My lady, my majesty. He is also head of the Northern Kingdom security. He could be an asset to us. Yet, if we could turn him, he could be very useful. The sorceress turned to him with a grin that this was a good idea. Then she quickly turned back toward Joseph, then let fly the energy bolt and struck one of the less important minion gods, killing him. That, my Jester, is the price for failure to me. The Jester looked at her with a curious expression. That's interesting, he said. What? Replied the sorceress. I'm not going to tell you, retorted Joseph. The sorceress then let fly another green lightning from her hands. It shocked Joseph and unconscious. The pain was intense enough that he did not have time to even yell. He fell to the floor with a soft thud as the dress he was wearing broke his fall. Take him to the dungeon, she ordered. As they dragged Joseph away, the sorceress sat down with a perplexed mind. Joseph awoke to find himself on the stone floor of a cell in the dungeon. There were iron bars dividing his cell from an adjacent section, and iron bars and a gate in the front of the cell. The only light was coming from some lantern lamps on the walls outside the cell, opposite of the walls of the door. Though the light was dim, Joseph could see a shoulder of a guard around the corner of the passage up to the outside. As he was still feeling pain of the shock he had received, he slowly rose to his feet to get a feel for where he was. He heard some coughing from the cell on his right. Who's there? He queried. As he looked, he saw a couple of people looking back at him. One of them said, Prisoners like you. Joseph approached the divide to see who these people were. There was a man and a woman, both of upper middle-aged. Apparently had been there for quite a while by their appearance. Joseph introduced himself. The man spoke up and introduced himself. I am a smith, and this is my wife. We have been here for months. It is hard to tell with the darkness how long it has actually been. We were arrested for refusing the Queen's mandates. What was it she requested or demanded? Joseph asked. Our children to serve in her and her army. She mandates a certain number of young people from the country to mandatory service to her. It's not like it was under the old republic, where it was a minimum age of 16 to voluntary to serve. She takes them at 12 to 14, and many are never heard from again. There are stories of that she does something evil with them and destroys them in some way. But we resisted and sent our children to the Northern Kingdom by night. Yes, we did. We resisted and sent our children by night to the Northern Kingdom, stated the woman. Sounds familiar, responded Joseph. So, what's with the dress? The man asked. Joseph told the story of how he was the jester of the Northern Kingdom's court, and how he had disrupted the Queen's plan by taking place of his love, and how the Queen was really angered by his actions of trickery. He also relayed what he had noticed in observations of the courtroom, that she didn't have the power she wanted. The man spoke. You are lucky to be alive, man. I have seen her public executions, what she does to those who get on her bad side. Joseph sighed. Such evil must be resisted. And he stated, There is hope. And after rubbing his spine, he said, First, I've got to get this corset thing off. It's killing me. Would you mind releasing the ties on it? He turned his back to the bars. The woman made quick work of it, and then Joseph knew. But before Joseph knew it, the thing was off. He gave him thanks. Great thanks. Thank you. Sir, you seem like a good man. It was no trouble, the woman said to Joseph. Joseph then gave the corset kick across the cell. Why rich women wear such things is beyond me, he stated. Her dress was looser now. He could again move and breathe. Then he turned to his fellow inmates to thank them. And as he did so, some guards came into the front area of the cell. The chief officer spoke up. Okay, Jester. The Queen wants to talk to you. Guards escorted Joseph up through the passage leading out of the dungeon level. As they walked past the chapel and its courtyard, Joseph noticed the statue of the angel and how the art entrance had been closed. He asked the lead guards about this. That has been a thorn in the sorceress' side since she took power here many years ago. My predecessor even died out there near that statue, stated the head guard. Joseph added an observation. It seems like it's watching us. Like it moves when you turn your head, replied the guard. Keep walking, said the second guard. Soon they arrived in the main courtroom, where the sorceress was waiting on the throne. The guards saluted as they came into her presence. She nodded to them, and then looked at the jester that had disrupted her plans. She had then addressed him. So, Jester, did you have a good nap? I didn't damage you too bad, did I? Joseph replied, I thought you would have just killed me in spite. You have quite the reputation in the Northern Kingdom of killing those who disrupt your plans or oppose you. She held her composure. I still may kill you, but I'd rather make you suffer first. But that is not why I have summoned you. And I see you've got that corset off the dress. Joseph replied, Yeah, that thing was really annoying. The sorceress smiled. I can fix you up, and then we shall talk as we should. I can't take you seriously dressed like that. She waved her hands. With a whirl of red smoke appeared around Joseph. He was suddenly clean and in a man's clothes. It was the suit of a gentleman that he was now wearing. Looking proper for a court appearance, Joseph gave a sigh of relief as he adjusted into his new outfit. The sorceress was pleased with herself and said, That is useful magic, my man. Now we can talk as adults. So what have you to do with me? Queried Joseph. I'm Jester man. I'm going to use you as a hostage, as I had planned with the princess. While you are here, I'm going to turn you into one of my followers and servants. I'd also like you to be mine to do with you as I please, she said with confidence. Wow, you are sure of yourself. And what makes you think that this is a practical plan, or that they in the North, or even I, will cooperate with you? Asked Joseph. Oh, you will cooperate, or you will die. It is as simple as that, she stated the Queen Sorceress. Madam, just so you know, I don't fear death. It is something that everybody does eventually. In fact, I look forward to the day when I enter the next life. If you kill me, I will be free of my worries. The sorceress looked perturbed by the statement, but continued, I can do more than kill you. I can make you my plaything and wear you down. I can control you in whatever you wear and do. She waved her hands. In an instant, Joseph was wearing the dress again. Then, again. Poof! A jester outfit and a tight bodysuit. Then again, back into the gentleman's suit. I can use a spell to ensnare your mind and make you do as I wish, even control you or active your memory. So you won't even recognize your loved ones. Joseph raised his hand, stopping her speech. Then he added, the former things of physical being you may control, but my mind has to give you permission, and I don't give you permission. I know this because I've studied the magic you use. Evil requires permission to do its purpose. But Sorceress looked at him with an evil smile. Well, dear, not everything is in books that I do, and there is more than one way to control you. She raised her hands toward Joseph as if to grab him, and then suddenly he was off the floor, off the floor, floating in the air. And she pulled her hand toward her, and he moved toward her. As he came within inches of her, she kissed him on the cheek and took him with a mocking look on her face. And she motioned with her hand forward and backward, bringing Joseph back to where he was next to the guard. Then she released her grip of her, and he fell to the floor with a groan. She addressed him again. Do you understand what you are dealing with here, my little man? I am all powerful. None can resist me. I can treat you as a child's doll, and there's nothing you can do about it. Joseph stood back up on his feet. Impressive, my lady, impressive. But even that can be beaten or stopped. She again looked perturbed. Brave little man, I like it showing like you. Think about what I've done, what I've just done. God's taken back to the dungeon. Joseph, as he was leaving, simply said, Black is your soul. And he would rather die than give you control. You're going to get what you deserve. Ha! Retorted Joseph as he was led away. She retorted as Joseph was led away. And on the way back to the dungeon, again they passed by the chapel courtyard. Joseph again thought he saw the statue move as if watching him. The head guard noticed this too. He said to Joseph, I know, I saw it too. But for now, I suggest you cooperate with the queen, for it does not end well for those who resist her. Was Joseph's only response. They went down to the passages to the lower parts of the castle, back into the dungeon area. The guards put Joseph into the room he was before, locking the door to his cell and leaving them in the dim of the place. The couple that were in the next cell saw him. They looked shocked, as if they hadn't expected him to return at all. Joseph acknowledged them with a nod. As soon as he got his bearings and adapted to the dim torchlight, he began to investigate the cell. Its doors, its locks, its bars, its walls, floor. He noticed the couple watching him. He said to him, I am getting out of here. Want to come? The man responded with puzzlement. Yes, but no one has ever gotten away from here. What are you going to do that is different? Joseph winked at him and said to him, Watch and learn. One of the things someone learns being a chief of security is how to get in and out of places. Then he quickly found the course that he had tossed aside from earlier and took it apart, taking out the metal and whalebone components. Then, using a pair of metal strips as picks, he patiently picked the lock of his cell, and it opened with a click. He was out, and looked at the couple and stated, I'll get you out in a minute. He proceeded quietly down the passage to where the guards were stationed. He noticed two at the junction with their backs to him. One appeared to be sleeping. The other didn't seem far off from sleeping either. Both had swords and club combination on their weapons belts. Using shadows and stealth, Joseph came up behind the more asleep of the two. He quietly removed the club from the guard's belt. The man didn't even notice, nor did his partner. Joseph quickly clubbed the more awake one, then from behind, knocked him out. The second one awoke with a start, but Joseph quickly grabbed him and put him into a sleeper hold. Once the guards were subdued, Joseph found the keys to the cell and went back to let the other couple out from their cell. As they were still in the dungeon, they also released others who were imprisoned there. The more fit conditioned ones took the guards' clothes and weapons, and others quickly went behind them. Up to the main entrance of the dungeon area, Joseph reconnoitered. At least a half a dozen guards were in the chamber, and he and his group were now a small force of 14. Joseph spoke quietly with those who are now dressed as guards. "We can do this. You will walk behind me as if you are escorting me out and taking me, and you four take a flanking position on either side of me. We can take them very quickly." The others laid back a few seconds and wait for the moment to go. The man that had been in the cell next to his then asked and stated, "What are we going to do once we get out? We'll never get past the guards and in the throne room and even the main courtyard. They will be alert to such a ruse, and as we are doing, there will be they will be alert to such ruse, and we are doing here with these ones. What are we doing here with these ones? Plus the queen will be watching, and no one ever gets past her sight. Even in the night, no one does." Joseph smiled and said, "Have faith. I know what to do. Once you get past these guards, head to the chapel courtyard. There is a way out of the castle there. Now, are we clear of what to do?" They all nodded in agreement. So they marched right into the final section of the dungeon. The head guard there was puzzled by this action, and he spoke. "Where are you taking this man?" "To the queen's presence," stated one of the false guards. Joseph had his hands behind his back, as if he is bound. The head guard stepped forward with a sneer on his face. "I didn't get any such order." Joseph winked and replied, "You're right, you didn't." Then Joseph quickly unleashed a hard air-removing shot to the guard's throat. The other escaped prisoners quickly subdued the other guards before they could even sound the alarm. They all quickly and quietly made their way to the chapel courtyard. The man Smith, that Joseph had been in Joseph's neighboring cell, spoke quietly. "Joe, the doors are locked and barred. It won't take them long for the other guards to get here too. What are we going to do?" Joseph took a dagger that he had taken off one of the guards and applied it to one of the window frames, popping out the entire window. He smiled back and said, "Have faith, my friend. Now help me with this thing so it doesn't, and don't let it smash." They both maneuvered the pane out and onto the floor. Then they had the escapees climb into the courtyard. Then Joseph and his new friend climbed through the window, but not before putting it back in place behind them. Joseph secured the window in place with a dagger as a wedge to hold it. He nodded to the man, who looked perplexed as what was happening. Joseph then quickly addressed the small group. "People, listen up. There is a way out of here. See, there is a drain on the opposite side of the courtyard from here at least that leads out of the castle to a merchant square outside of the walls. You must move quickly if you want to get out of here. This used to be a Sally Forth port," stated the smith, who had and then he added, Only the royals are supposed to know where these are. Who are you, sir? Joseph smiled. A friend. He'll help me with this cover. They lifted off the drain cover, and they checked the opening to make sure the way was clear. And it was clear. Before the group started climbing into the porthole, Joseph addressed them. The queen isn't a queen. In the north, she's just known as a sorceress. She doesn't have all the badges of office either. Her powers have limits, and she can be beaten and will be. The Smiths chimed in. We know the prophecy, but that can't help us now, can it? They helped the women and the older escapees in first. Then they heard shouts and noise coming from the direction they had come from. The guards have awakened, stated the Smith. The group then hurried their movement down and out. When Joseph heard something like a whisper behind him. Joseph. He turned quickly to see where it had come from. The statue in the middle of the courtyard was looking toward Joseph. It clearly had changed from what it was when they had entered the courtyard. Joseph was puzzled and now distracted from what he was doing. But when he turned his attention back to the others helping escape, again he heard the whisper, Joseph. Joseph looked around again. This time he answered, Here I am. The Jester knew. The Jester Joseph had heard all sorts of things in his life, but this was different. Joseph walked around to where he thought the voice was coming from. Only 4 remained in the group of the escaping. They paused to see what Joseph was doing. Smith spoke up. Be careful around that thing. People die near it. Come on, let's go. The guards are getting closer. They'll find us any minute if we don't get going. Joseph was strangely drawn toward the statue. He was compelled. He couldn't explain it or do anything about it. He was just drawn until he was standing directly in front of the angel statue. It seemed to be looking at him. Then a bright light, like the sun, began to show around the statue and Joseph. Again the voice spoke. Joseph, son of Robert. Joseph answered, Yes, I am. I am here. The voice again spoke. The time of darkness is coming to an end. You, Joseph, are to be an instrument of that change. Joseph was in a perplexed state of mind. So he asked to test the spirit, Who are you? What is your purpose? Who am I that you should call upon me? The voice responded, I am a servant of the Most High God. I am here to protect the righteous ones from the darkness and to keep the darkness in check. You, Joseph, have been chosen long before you were born to be one who would drive back the darkness in these lands, to bring light and true freedom to the people. Joseph was puzzled. Yet he trusted in the Lord, and he replied to the voice, What do I do? The sorceress that rules this place is very strong with magic and power that I can say is at least demonic. What can one man do against such power? The voice responded, Love. Endure with love. Be who you are with love in your heart, and she will be defeated. Be the jester you are, and a warrior at the same time. Her power will fleet away when you do what you do. The light grew brighter between Joseph and the angel. The smith and the others could barely see him looking at them through the light, but they could hear the voice talking to Joseph. Joseph nodded with understanding of what was being asked. The voice told Joseph, There is a price you must be willing to pay. It will be terrifying for you to endure should you accept this test and challenge. You can still back out now. To do so to go with your new friends and out now. Though if you go, the darkness will continue. But if you accept, touch the hilt of your father's sword, and draw out one hand's length from the sheath, and you will be granted the power you need to defeat the sorceress." Joseph looked at the smith and those who were with him and told him, "Go, I am staying." "She'll kill you when she finds you," responded the smith. Joseph smiled at them. "No, she won't. Not this time." The guards reached the edge of the courtyard, but were dazzled by the light emanating from Joseph at the statue. Joseph touched the hilt of the sword and drew it just as he was instructed. A bright pulse of bright light shot into the sky. A second pulse then radiated out in all directions, like a pebble tossed into a pond. Joseph spoke one more time to those escaping. "Tell everyone I have engaged here in battle, the darkness." The smith closed grate behind them as he left. The light was so intense the guards could not see their exit. It was also seen as far away as the Northern Kingdom's seacoast. One last time the voice spoke. "Joseph, trust in the Lord, and you will do well. True love will be the final act that saves your land. Now prepare yourself. Endure." During all this, the sorceress was in her room asleep, but was awakened by what she thought was at first thunder. Then the wave of light came through the wall and passed clean through the stone as if it were glass. She felt a warm puff as it passed through her. She quickly got up and got dressed as the guards came knocking at the door. The head guard spoke through the door. "Your Majesty, something has happened." She opened the door for us. "What is going on out here?" The guard tried to explain, but it was too complicated. So he just said, "The Jester we captured, he... Come, see. I don't know what to make of it." He and his men escorted her to the chapel courtyard with great haste. Other guards were trying to get in, but were having trouble with the doors. The sorceress looked through one of the windows and could see Joseph standing in front of the angel statue and the light emanating between the two of them. She was taken back for a moment, but quickly regained her composure. She addressed the guards at the door. "Get out of the way, you incompetents." She quickly conjured an energy beam and blew the doors open. Joseph stepped away from the statue as the cohort entered the area. The light faded away as the guards surrounded Joseph and drew their weapons. The sorceress came in and stood in front of him. Joseph spoke first. "Good morning. What has you up so early?" She gave him evil eyes nest. "What have you done?" He only smiled. "I put another hole in your power and authority. This is only the beginning." He stepped away from the statue, and she noticed the sword was partially drawn from the sheath. Without thinking, she went to grab it, and she was quickly thrown back through the air and into the mud of the planter box, landing with a loud splat. Joseph broke down with laughter. He added, "That was a good one." As is many years ago, the head guard helped her out of the planter. He stated, "Deja vu," saying clear of her as he said it. She looked at him, then back at Joseph, who was still laughing at her. She then ordered him to be brought to the main courtroom. Once there, she used her magic to clean herself. Joseph said aloud, "That's a useful trick." "It is," she replied. Sitting on the throne, she addressed Joseph. "Joseph, I'm not sure what happened out there, but I'm not going to let that deter me from what I want. I want the Northern Kingdom, and you are one of its top people, the royal Jester sworn to serve." Joseph looked at the sorceress. With a smile, he wanted to laugh at her, but he refrained and replied, "Yes, I am a Jester. I serve by getting people to laugh with physical comedy. It's amazing how effective it is lifting the spirits of the people. You, however, don't seem to have a sense of humor or light spirit." You seem only concerned with power and control. You probably have never had even thrown a pie or vented out to have a good laugh, or even done anything messy or a good joke for a laugh. You're like you can't even do it. The sorceress was quick to respond to us. Jester, you have no idea who you're dealing with. She conjured a pie and flung it at his face. They hit with a good splat. She made her evil laugh heard. Her guards laughed with her. So you threw one. That isn't going to break my will, my lady. You don't have what it takes. She waved her hand at him and magic cleaned him. She again stood up and walked up to him like she had a thought in her mind. She grabbed his face with her hand and smiled and spoke. My Jester man, I'm not going to use your talent against you. Use this strength of yours to break you. I'm going to make you my Jester. I have a knack for turning people's strengths against them. Let me demonstrate my power of what I can do. Joseph only responded with a very sarcastic, right. The sorcerer stepped back and made a twirl motion with her hand. In a puff of smoke, he was in a jester's outfit, not of his own. Again, she twirled her hand, and he was suddenly in the tight corset dress. She twirled her hand again, and suddenly he was in a slimming bodysuit. He made light gasps as she changed the clothes a few more times, variations on dresses and bodysuits of different configurations, and that would appear and disappear, the bluish green smoke around his body. And finally, the sorceress had completed her demonstration. He was back into his own clothes before she started to show her power. He started to show his power. And again, he spoke. Well, that was pretty neat. What does it accomplish? What does it accomplish for you? And when you don't get what you want from me, when you don't get what you want on a day, you'll zap me like you did on the first day we met, right? The sorceress grinned at him. My little man, I am showing you that you are in my power, and I can do anything I wish to you. I will make you wear things that are considered an abomination to the people of nations, and even for a jester to wear. I will take you to all the nations I have conquered as my muse. You will be discredited, even your lovely princess. To your think about it. You will give in to my will eventually. And if I zap you, it'll be whenever you least expect it. Joseph replied, my God is my strength and my refuge. In him I trust. I will get through the storm that is you. He spoke coldly. We shall see. So concludes chapter 4. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that. Like I say, this book is available at DorranceBookstore.com. So I also believe it's also available on Amazon. Please give it a buy, give it a read. I'm not going to read all the chapters from this. You people have to do some work yourselves. But know that I do it out of love. Thank you for bearing with me. And now, good day, and until next time, God bless America.